So have you ever asked yourself why we're here? I mean, why am I here? Why are you here? What is the point of it all? Life in general, right? I think a lot of us have asked ourselves that question at sometimes in life, and particularly now after a year like 2020, we're coming up on 2021. We start to think forward about what we want to achieve in the upcoming year. We want to achieve some big goals and turn things around and just get off to a much better start and have a much better year than in 2020, right? So that starts us thinking about what is our purpose, right? So today I want to talk about that. I want to talk about finding your why. In other words, WHY, your purpose, finding your purpose. Why are you here? How can you have a more purposeful life, which usually leads to a more fulfilling life and a happier life, right? And I want to talk about that using a children's book, funny enough, Finding My Why, The Quest for Purpose. That is me, Jonathan Lawrence Clark, in case you were wondering. This is my book. But even though this book is written for kids ages 5 to 9, the principles are principles that can be useful for adults as well. And it's things that we all struggle with, grapple with as adults. And so I think it'll be a really good exercise to go through and just go through a couple of the pages and really talk about the depth of this book and the context in which it matters for kids and adults, because we want to raise our kids so that they can have better lives than we've had and be happier and even more successful than we've been, right? So in doing that, we have to change some of the ways that we raise our kids and teach them things that we didn't learn when we were growing up. And so that's the purpose of this book. So Finding My Why is about a young boy who is on his quest to find his purpose, but at first he doesn't even know what purpose is. He doesn't know what why is. You see the book is Finding My Why with a Y, right? So I put a Y there because WHY, Finding My Why, most kids 5 to 9 are not going to understand what that means, and what they're going to hear is the letter Y. So that's the reason why I made it the letter Y, and you'll understand why else it's the letter Y later on when we read the book, right? So when the book opens, we can see here the boy's in bed and there's his mom tucking him in, getting him ready for bed. He says, "One night before bed, my mommy said to me the most peculiar thing about who I could be. I asked how I would know what to be when I grow up. She said, just find your why, then hold on and don't give up." Just find your why, hold on, and don't give up. So this is setting the stage for the rest of the story, right? Because the boy is inquiring, hey, I've heard people say, what do you want to be when you grow up? But how do I go about finding out what that is? That's his question. Great question for a kid to ask. Most kids never ask it, right? People say, what do you want to be when you grow up? And we think about people we admire, things we see on television, people who are heroic, respected, wealthy, all those things that we think we want to be. We base our answer on that. So he's asking, how do I know what I want to be when I grow up? Which seems like a simple question, but some adults still haven't answered that question, right? So it's a great place to start this story and set up his journey to finding out his why or his purpose. And his mom responds, just find your why, then hold on and don't give up. So she's instructing him and letting him know, you start with why, start with purpose. What is the reason why you think you're here, right? He doesn't understand the depth and complexity of that yet, but she's starting him down the road of going through the thought process of contemplating why, which is the beginning of finding your purpose. And then she says, when you find it, hold on and don't give up, which means you're probably going to encounter some adversity along the way, but you have to hold on to it or you might lose it, right? So that's where we started with this story. So next page, next scene, the boy responds, "But mommy," I said, "I don't have a why. Then I sat there puzzled, awaiting her reply. So the boy responds by saying he doesn't have a why. He doesn't have a purpose. Some adults don't think they have a purpose. So that is a logical response to a boy who's trying to figure out, what exactly is my mom trying to tell me? What exactly is she talking about when she's mentioning this why, which he thinks is the letter Y? Next scene. Of course you do, sweetie. Everyone has a why. But if you don't know where to look, it can be hard to find. So mom responds and says, of course you do. Everyone has a why. Everybody has a purpose. But if you don't know where to look, it can be hard to find. Now, seems simple on the surface, but where do most of us look in life when we're looking for our why, our purpose, our reason for being? We look at fame, popularity, money, what profession or what decisions are going to lead down a road that will earn me the most money, what's going to make people love and respect me, right? Those are the things we aspire to when we're trying to figure out our purpose or our why or our destination anyway. That's not really a purpose, and the book gets into that later, but it does define or outline our motivations early on when we start to think about wealth, fame, popularity, belonging, acceptance, because those are basic things that we all want in life. Okay, so she's starting to change his mindset and get him to think about, to get him to understand that he does have a purpose, number one, that there is a why, a reason for him being, and that he can live a life of purpose, and saying you have to be careful because if you look in the wrong places, you won't find it. So that's something we should all be mindful about, is where are we looking when we're looking for a sense of meaning in life? Next scene. The news about my why came as quite a surprise. Where could my why be? Was it wearing a disguise? I wasn't quite sure, but one thing I knew, I just had to find my why, and I had to find it soon. So now the boy's excited, right? He's all pumped up. His mom's talked to him about this why, this thing that everybody has. And now he realizes, hey, I have something. My mom says I have something, but I don't know where it is. I don't know what it is, but I want to know. I'm curious about this why that my mom is telling me about. So she's ignited curiosity in her son, and now he's seeking, right? He's looking and he's wondering and he's seeking something bigger or something, some greater meaning or something he doesn't understand yet. So that's great for the story because now we know he's excited, he's looking for something, and now his mission and his journey is starting to begin. So think about it, right? So how many people never even search for their purpose? Never even know that's an option. I wasn't even exposed to purpose and what it means until I was an adult. It's not something we grew up talking about when I was a kid. My parents didn't have conversations with me about purpose. They actually helped me pursue interests. If there was something I was interested in, they supported me in it, whether it was art, sports, whatever it was. They supported me in pursuing different things to see what my strengths might be. But there was never a conversation about purpose and having a life of meaning and really figuring out, why am I here and what will give my life meaning? So the importance and significance of this book is the mom is starting a conversation. This boy is about 7 or 8 in the book. The mom is starting a conversation about things that most adults haven't figured out and are still wondering about with a child who's 7 or 8 years old. So if he can start that thought process with himself, even if he doesn't fully understand it, he's got a huge advantage as a child growing into an adult to get himself on a trajectory towards his purpose and something that's going to provide more meaning to his life. Next scene. "Not tonight," my mommy said, and she kissed me on the cheek. Then she turned out my light and I drifted off to sleep. Suddenly I was awakened by the sound of a crowd. I was inside an arena and the fans were screaming loud. So he's awakened to this excitement and there's all this energy going on. So his curiosity is piqued by now. He's trying to figure out, where am I and what exactly is going on? Down below there was a stage, and as I looked from the stands, I saw a Y playing guitar and singing in a band. There we have the Y. A letter Y, which is what a child would expect to see when they hear their parent, their mom, talking about this Y, right? So in comes this Y character, a central character in the book. Every time he sang and danced, the crowd went insane. One thing was for sure, this Y loved to entertain. Could this be the Y my mom told me about? I thought long and hard to figure it out. So let's talk about that more. They said every time he sang and danced, the crowd went insane. One thing was for sure, this Y loved to entertain, right? So we know this is a, singer, a performer, right? And we know that that's their craft: sing, perform, play an instrument, dance, all the above. But why? What's the purpose? Because the Y loved to entertain. He loved to entertain people. So we're starting the process with the child of observing and looking at why people are doing what they're doing and what purpose it serves. And as a singer and dancer, he's entertaining people. Then he wonders if this is the Y his mom told him about. Next scene. Then before I could decide, a little boy named Dwayne sang on stage with the Y. And they flew off in a plane. Now surely, I thought, if Dwayne's Y sings songs, there's a cool Y for me, and that's where I belong. So Dwayne's about to take off in this plane with his Y. So the boys figured out, this Y singing on stage is not the Y my mom told me about. This Y belongs to Dwayne. It belongs to someone else. But now he's seen that there's another boy that has a Y. And so he's drawn the conclusion that I must have a Y too, just like my mom said. So his level of curiosity and excitement now is going up because he knows, I've seen somebody, I've seen it myself. I've seen someone with a Y, with a purpose. So I know there has to be one for me too. So let's talk about the significance of that. That's all we'll share from the book today. But let's talk about the significance of that for you or for us as adults. So seeing an example of someone living their purpose is a great way for us to get inspired and start to think it's possible for us as well. Seeing people out in the public eye, or whether it's people close to you, relatives, friends, actually live out their purpose and fulfill their purpose is extremely motivating and inspiring, because we start to think, well, if that person could do it and we see similarities between us and that person, then we can do it too. And that's why it's so moving when we see people out there really owning their gifts and living their life the way it seems to be designed to live. Now, on the flip side, at the same time, seeing somebody live out their dream can also be discouraging for some people, because If you see somebody else that's really out there doing it, out there kicking butt, out there really living their life, using their gifts, serving other people with their gifts, prospering from it, living a life of prosperity, then you look at that and you say, what's wrong with me? That's the thought some people have, is they look at somebody that's living their dream and they think, what's wrong with me? Why aren't I there yet? Am I flawed? Do I have a gift? Am I misusing my gift? Is it my background? Is it my race? There's a million things that goes through a person's mind. Is it my gender? A million things go through a person's mind, especially in the world we live in, because sometimes we're led to believe that certain groups are inferior to other groups. And so people start to think, is there something wrong with me? Is that why I'm not living my dream? I'm not living my purpose, and that person is, right? So it's funny that something that can be inspiring can also be discouraging at the same time. Now, interesting in this book, when we're kids, the young boy in this book, initially, when he sees that Dwayne has his why and is leaving with his why, he's thinking, I've got a why too. He's got a why, so I must have a why. My mom said I have one, right? So he's positive. He's thinking positively about it. So he's starting out with an abundance mindset. But those of us who look at somebody else living their dream and start to question ourselves, sometimes we have a scarcity mindset and we think, well, if that person's living their dream and somebody else is living their dream, that maybe there's not enough room for you to live your dream, is another issue. Sometimes there's a crabs in a barrel mentality with people who are disenfranchised, oppressed. Sometimes they're thinking there's only a few of us that are going to make it, right? Sometimes it's a problem in the African American community. We look at each other and one of us is excelling, and sometimes other people resent that, and they actually hate on that person that's succeeding, thinking like there's only a few of us, a small number of us who are going to make it. And subconsciously, they start to believe that if too many other people are succeeding, then there's not enough room for them. So scarcity mentality. But the boy in the story is starting out with an abundance mentality, because he says, that kid has a why, I can have a why. And he believes what his mom told him. Now, when finding your purpose, it's important to pay attention to your gifts, right? So let's talk about gifts. What are your gifts? What do you do extremely well? That's part of the beginning of discovering what your purpose might be. So are there things that people comment on that you seem to do better than the average individual? Are there things you're interested in that you can spend hours doing and the time just goes by really quickly? Those are hints and signals of things that you could then turn into a career, profession, and spend more time doing, because the more time you spend doing things that you are gifted in or passionate about, the more fulfilled and happy you're going to be. And then you can find a way to serve other people using your gifts, which starts to put you in alignment with your purpose. All right. So even though it's a kid's book, very valuable content, and starting this conversation as young as this age group, 5 to 9, is extremely valuable for the kids and for the future adults. And it's valuable for us, because I think there are a lot of adults who will learn a lot from even reading this book with their kids. All right. So just a few nuggets, a few tidbits from the book, understanding that everybody has a purpose first and foremost, and that includes you. So if you haven't found out what that is, you can start the process by thinking about, what are your gifts? What are things you do really, really well? What are you passionate about? What can you spend time on for hours and hours, and the time goes by really quickly while you're doing it? That's another hint. And then you can start down the road of figuring out, can this be monetized? Can it be my profession? Do I want it to be? Maybe I'll do it on the side. There's tons of options out there, but the point is, you're given gifts for a reason, and you're supposed to use them. So if you have gifts and passions and you don't pursue them because you're working a day job just to earn a living, you're robbing the world of your gift. And that's not the way for people to be fulfilled, and it's not the way for the world to be its best, because the world is its best when everybody's operating in their gift. All right, so I'll just leave you with that for today. Just a few nuggets, a few tidbits from the book. If you know any kids 5 to 9, or if you have kids 5 to 9, excellent Christmas gift, Finding My Why, The Quest for Purpose, by me, Jonathan Lawrence Clark. That's me living my dream, using my gift, writing a children's book, right? What is your gift? What is your purpose? I'm here to inspire people, including kids, right? I want to inspire kids and adults to live their purpose and teach people life skills. I'm a life coach. That's my purpose, is to inspire and motivate people and help them live their purpose and live their best life. What is your purpose? Start finding out what that is. Don't go into 2021 without going down the road of figuring out why you're here and how you can get about the business of doing that. All right. This has been John with Cra-Z-Dreams. If you're interested in the book, it's available on my website, cra-z-dreams.com. It's right here on my board, cra-z-dreams.com, cra-z-dreams.com. You'll see a picture of the cover of the book, or a picture of the book on my home page. Just click that picture and it'll take you to the page to purchase the book, which is available for Christmas right now. Don't miss the opportunity to give your kids something meaningful that can make their lives better and really change their lives going forward as adults. All right. Been great talking to you, and I look forward to talking to you again next time. Take care.